Your story inspired millions of people, your desire to come back, the role your family played in it. I would be remiss if I didn't start my conversation by saying that to you on behalf of everybody across the country who was moved by it.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. And certainly anytime you get a recognition, an individual recognition in a team sport like football, obviously it's humbling. And I owe a lot to a lot of people, certainly my teammates, and then a huge medical team that helped me back over the course of 2 years. And then most of all, my family, wife and kids, for the daily role they played, especially over the last couple of years, and really carrying the load for me.
It's well said, and obviously an award well deserved, to say the very least. Okay, so now let's get into what happened last night, because as I'm watching this, I'm trying to figure out how in the world is this defense just dominating the game against an offense this good through a quarterback's eyes. What did you see?
Oh, I mean, honestly, it all for me goes back to the first game in the regular season. I mean, I think you have to look at that game and obviously the offensive shootout that it ended up being, but really that first half, what the Chiefs did. I mean, to Tampa Bay played them in a ton of man-to-man coverage with no help, one high man, and you saw them get exposed, especially with Tyreek. I mean, he almost, what did he go for, 300 yards himself almost. And I think looking at that, you had to know, obviously Todd Bowles wasn't going to let that happen again. There was no way they were going to let those explosive plays, that explosive offense happen again. And they were going to make them drive the length of the field. They were going to play in a too high shell. I think added on top of that, the injuries to the Chiefs offensive line, the injuries to Patrick's foot, his toe, limiting him and his mobility, even encouraged that. Hey, listen, we're gonna rush four. We're gonna get pressure with these four. They're beat up front. Pat's not as mobile as he has been in the past, and we're gonna make him drive the length of the field. We're not gonna let Tyreek get a big play over the top. Dare him to run the ball, and obviously it worked. They couldn't do it. They couldn't get him out of the too high shell. I felt like they kept trying for the big play. Patrick kept double clutching back there, I think, as they tried to push it downfield, and the pressure continued to get to him.
You played for Andy Reid and had some really good years playing for him in Kansas City, and he's about one of the best offensive coaches the game has ever seen. I'm not asking you to second guess him or question him, but were there things, if you were the quarterback, what would you have been saying to him? Like, what would you have been saying? Hey, let's try this. This is something we need to try and do.
Yeah, I looking at it, it was that, and it was tough. I really think it goes to the offensive line, and it's hard. That was such a big matchup. I thought the Bucs D line really, really showed up. They came to play, and really, I thought, helped decide that game. Again, I go back to they couldn't run the ball. They weren't balanced, and the pressure got there. Once you get down two, I felt like it just kind of it continued to go downhill. I felt like they pressed more as an offense to try to push it downfield. And then they got in the red zone 3 times and weren't able to get touchdowns. All that added up to, I thought, it being kind of a lopsided game once we got into the fourth quarter.
Greeny and Alex Smith, who's with me here on ESPN Radio. You played, as I say, in Kansas City, and you were there for Mahomes' first season. I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't get a thought from you. Could you see this coming? Like, when he's so special. What did you see?
I didn't know. Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't know, you have no idea as an outsider where his toe was at. And I thought, looking at that, I thought if Patrick was 100%, I think he's a guy that we've consistently see make up for, even pressure. A lot of times the guy, I mean, he backpedals and throws darts all over the field. And I thought that we didn't see that from him, but because of his toe. I really thought that yesterday, looking at it, that if we'd have seen him running around like we've always seen him, that I thought he could have made up for a lot of that stuff that was going on, some of the pressure. But he was, I mean, I looked at it as a little limited, and fighting through it. And certainly, I mean, he's still, the competitor in him. But I think all those things added up to what we saw over the course of the game.
I've got a number that's going to blow your mind. We got this from Next Gen Stats. Patrick Mahomes last night ran a total of 497 yards before either passes or sacks, which is the most by any quarterback in any game this season. He was running for his life. It felt like the second he took the snap. When you're a quarterback, is there anything you can do when the rush is getting on you that quickly?
It's hard. I mean, especially when it's a 4-man rush. I mean, it's one thing if a defense is bringing it, and you got a lot of one-to-one matchups, you got big play opportunity. But when it's a 4-man rush, and certainly you saw them when they were paying a lot of attention to Tyreek and Kelsey, it's tough. You saw a lot of times I felt like he was getting to his, trying to get to a second and third read, which obviously entails holding on to the ball a little bit longer. And that rush really did get to him. And it's hard. And as great as Pat is at throwing from awkward positions and moving and backpedaling, um, you felt like it was tough. And I think, looking back at it and looking at some of the quotes, I know Pat talked about how good he felt 2 weeks ago, but that stat you just mentioned, kind of plays into that. I mean, he ran for 500 yards. Certainly, I think by the end of the game, his toe was feeling the effects of that.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.